My name is Andrew Duck. I live in Brunswick, which is in the 6th District. I served in the Army for 20 years. That includes 3 deployments to Bosnia and time on the ground in Iraq. I graduated from Middletown High School and soon after met the woman who I would spend the rest of my life with, Whitney. And Whitney and I had a child even before we got married, and Brandon was born premature. Brandon weighed 3 pounds, 10 ounces, and I could hold him in my hand like this. So we struggled for a year or so as we worked multiple jobs. At one point, Whitney was working 3 jobs. I was working 1 job and going to school, trying to survive, and found that we needed health insurance that would cover a pre-existing condition. So at the age of 19, I joined the Army because that was the only way back then to get health insurance that would cover a pre-existing condition. I will tell you, the number one thing on my platform is we need Medicare for all. All right. I do not believe that young couples today should have to have someone put their life on the line in order to get health care for a sick child. That's not right, and we need to make sure that we fix it. I spent 20 years in the Army. I started out as a company clerk. I became a Korean linguist. Then I went to military intelligence. I went to officer candidate school, became a military intelligence officer, and I did 3 deployments to Bosnia, where I think we really did show how American military power could be used to bring peace to a troubled land. And I also did 1 tour on the ground in Iraq. And the 1 tour on the ground in Iraq was so frustrating because we had people from Washington that wouldn't let us do the right thing, that I came home and I wound up submitting my retirement. I came back to Maryland and started to get politically involved. I started just trying to get Kerry elected president. So I co-founded a small group called Frederick for Kerry. And that was the start of my grassroots activism. Based on that, I had a number of people who told me I needed to run for Congress. We had a Congressman, Roscoe Bartlett, who was proud of being Tea Party before Tea Party was cool. But it was a district that nobody else was interested in. It was it had a Republican registration advantage of 14 percentage points. And they said, there's no way that we can make a difference. And what I said, to quote Angela Davis, was there are some times when you have to accept things that you cannot change, but there are also times when you must change that which you cannot accept. And I set out to change that which I could not accept. And I was the nominee in 2006 with the help of many of you here who went out and knocked doors and handed out literature for me. I was a nominee again in 2010. And in between 2006 and 2010, we increased the number of Democrats in the 6th District by 9%. So I want to say thank you to all of you who are here who were part of doing that work. Because this was not about me. This is about you. You worked your tails off. We were out at parades and fairs and door knocking and going everywhere we could to register new Democratic voters. And it made a difference because we cut that margin. We didn't flip the district just by registration alone, but we moved it down to a Republican plus 10 district. But we made a 4 percentage point shift in the difference, and that's enough to get the attention of the people that are now with us. And so in 2010, when we had to redistrict, they decided rather than gerrymander so they pushed all the Republicans into the 6th district, they would gerrymander differently. It turned this district into a Democratic-leaning district. It still is the closest district in the state. It is by no means a sure bet either way. 4 years ago, John Delaney kept his seat with only 49% of the vote. in a non-presidential year, so it will be a hard fight, both the primary and the general, and I make no bones about it. But it's a fight that we can win. It's a fight where we have a level playing field. It's a fight where we don't have it slanted against us like we did before. But I really spent most of my spare time working on a green energy research company called Avertica. Avertica has gotten 2 patents on their conductive polymer technology that should be useful in solar panels and also in advanced batteries and supercapacitors to store energy, because I actually believe in science, and I think facts are facts, and I know that climate change is real, and we should be doing something about it. So not only do we need to stop carbon pollution, we need to start actions now to roll back the pollution that has already occurred. We need to draw down the carbon in the atmosphere and return it to historic levels. So one of the things I will advocate for in Congress is the creation of a new research program that I would call ARPA-C, Advanced Research Projects Agency Carbon. You can call it climate instead of carbon. I'll be flexible. As long as what we're doing is we're taking the same approach that DARPA takes to defense problems and that ARPA-E takes to renewable energy problems, and we start doing the research we need to do to figure out how to return that carbon back to historic levels. Because we cannot afford not to. We will spend $300 billion this year alone to recover from 3 hurricanes. If we can just get back to a normal historical pattern, that will save us hundreds of billions of dollars. We cannot afford not to. We cannot let the problem continue to get worse. On economics, I talked about struggling as we were younger. I believe that we have a huge problem with economic inequality in our country. We need to address it with a myriad of policies, the first of which is to fight for a living wage. That begins with the fight for 15, but it doesn't end at the fight for 15. We need to recognize that we have different costs of living in different places, and we will need to get a national average of 15 and then move up from there. I would encourage the federal government to move from the poverty level calculations they currently use, one standard across the whole country, to the ALICE system, where they're recognizing the differences in what poverty is in various different locations, because that's how we take care of those weakest among us and those most endangered among us. It doesn't do any good to have a safety net if you lay your safety net on the floor. We need to do better than that. So I am running for Congress in an election that will occur a year from now. We cannot wait until a year from now to address all of the problems that we have. One of the things that we failed to do as Democrats is address those problems. When President Trump had his acceptance speech and he said, "No longer shall the forgotten be forgotten," it told me that we as Democrats allowed a large segment of our country to feel as though we had forgotten them. And we cannot accept that. This can't just be a campaign for one seat. This has got to be part of a movement, and we're going to have to continue beyond that to work to heal these divides. So that is a short version of who I am, where I come from, where I stand on the issues, and where I see us moving in the future.